Hey everybody, Yankee here. I don't know if you've noticed, but I've been kind of staying out of politics this year. It's not because, he doesn't want to let people know what he thinks because they'll be mad at him. No, it's just that I don't see a point this year. I don't think there's a winning option. I think it's kind of a damned if we do, damned if we don't. I don't like Kamala Harris for obvious reasons, and I don't particularly like Donald Trump either. The man who banned bump stocks, who said that they should just take away the guns and give due process later. The guy that is now saying he wants police to be able to stop and frisk people to see if they're legally carrying those guns or not. And then take the guns until they can prove they are. And then give all police federal full immunity from prosecution when they violate people's civil rights. So it's kind of a, do we choose leftist fascism or far-right fascism? Still fascism, and in the end, we're going to be screwed. The people are the ones that are going to suffer. Now, I know some people on both sides have convinced themselves that, politicians are bad, except for the ones I like, they're the good guys. There are no good guys in politics. Some people have fooled themselves to the point that they even think billionaires like Elon Musk are working in their best interests. That's how foolish some people have become and how deluded they've become trying to defend politicians that they like. And I don't like any of them. So I've kind of been staying out of it. But I do want to address one issue, one political issue that has come up recently because it does kind of deal with guns. And the reason people are making it such a big issue is because of their fear of guns and anytime guns are involved. And it's this whole notion that Trump suggested a firing squad for Liz Cheney. Some people are saying firing squad. Some people are saying that he just said that she should be assassinated. And it's actually ridiculous. Or at least I think it is. And I'll explain why, and you can tell me whether you agree with me or not. And like I said, I'm not a Trump apologist. I'm not a political apologist for anybody. So keep in mind, I'm not coming at this with a bias. But Trump said something on one of his interviews about how Liz Cheney's a war hawk. And how she wouldn't be such a war hawk if the guns were pointed at her. And that's when people started going, oh my God, guns! Someone on the right is suggesting using guns, so you know it's terrible, it's a tyranny, it's blah, blah, blah. And that's not what he suggested at all. But their irrational fear of firearms is allowing themselves to be deluded into thinking that, when if you listen to what he said, it made pretty obvious sense what he was saying to me. He was saying that she's a war hawk, but she wouldn't be such a war hawk if she was the one that had to go fight. And that's been a point I've made for years. If all these rich people and billionaires who want to fight these foreign wars to maintain their profit margins and to sell their military toys, if they had to fight, or even if their children had to fight, they wouldn't do this. Donald Trump's an example of this. When there was a war, he was the child of one of the wealthy people. He didn't have to go fight. So that's what he was saying. It was kind of hypocritical and kind of silly that he was making this point because he's one of the beneficiaries of the rich people don't go fight wars. But like I was saying, he wasn't saying she should be assassinated or she should face a firing squad. I don't see how anyone got to that level or got to that point. I say it's just because of their irrational fear of people on the right or on the other side of the aisle, whether it's right or left. The right does this too. The gun community does not trust people on the left with guns. And even though they say they support the Second Amendment, they're all the time saying, well, these people shouldn't have guns. Those people shouldn't have guns. Shouldn't trust those people with guns. And I'm like, then you don't support the Second Amendment. So it's from both sides. But that's why this has gotten so big. Because like I said, I don't usually defend Trump, but it was clear what he was saying, that if the rich people had to fight the wars or their children had to fight the wars, they'd be a little choosier when they start them. And even though I think it is kind of an odd point to come from him, I still think it's a good point. And whether he's self-aware enough to know that that also benefited him, I don't know. But that doesn't change the fact that the point is true. And it's not nefarious, it's not hateful, it's not mean, it's not tyrannical. It's true. The people who rule this country, the billionaires, the wealthy, the 1%, They don't sully their hands with the stuff that they want done. They just throw poor people at it until enough poor people die on both sides that one side gives up. And they don't care because they see us as expendable. Anyone that's not the 1%, which is why I say it's odd that some people are thinking, Elon Musk is going to set the country right. He'll do what's right for us. No, he won't. He'll do what's right for him and the rest of the 1%. But in this case, I don't see anything that Donald Trump said or did that was nefarious. In fact, it was one of the most insightful and possibly self-aware things he's ever seen or said, And it makes sense. And like I said, the only reason people on the left are turning it into something it isn't is because, like I said, they have that irrational fear of anyone on the other side of the political aisle using firearms in any way. If you use guns, you're bad. Just like how sometimes the right does the same thing to people on the left. Like, remember when that black militia had guns? Oh, so many people in the gun community freaked out. Why aren't they being arrested? It's just, that's what's driving a lot of this hatred, is this fear of the other side having firearms. Because we know that firearms make helpless people not be so helpless anymore. You can only maintain control over a huge population when you're the minority if you have all the power. And firearms give people power. And that's why so many people fear the other side having them and misusing them. But that's a perfect example of why we should all have them. They give people who don't normally have power, power. And I'm not talking as an individual to go out and ride roughshod over other people. I'm talking collectively, as a society, when we can all stand up and say we don't have to put up with tyranny because we have the ability to fight back. Maybe we don't have bombs and fighter jets, but we can be one hell of a ground force if we had to. Such an overwhelming ground force that it doesn't matter if you have bombs and fighter jets. If you're overrun in 20 minutes by millions of people, what good does that do you? Especially if you're counting on the people that you're oppressing to push those buttons to launch those things. So that's why I think this was made into such a big deal. It's because both sides don't like the other side's having firearms, and in this case, it's the left freaking out saying, oh, see, this is why they shouldn't have these things. This is why they shouldn't have power. When he was clearly making a point that is totally rational, totally true, and makes a lot of sense. And like I said, I hate that I'm defending a politician, and yes, Trump is a politician. I hate to break it to you. I hate that I have to defend him, but in this case, I hate to defend any politician, but in this case, he's absolutely right, and the left is absolutely wrong.